Let's go fishing. We were out on this day chasing catfish and carp. Here you can see me checking my carp rod as I was getting some nibbles. What's crazy is I actually started fishing this spot way earlier in the morning, but didn't even have a nibble until now. Eventually I decided to pull that carp rod in and then go ahead and put some fresh bait on there as I was coming up on time that I had to leave. Now this was very early on in my carp fishing journey, and so I had all of my carp bait in a plastic bag like this. Not gonna lie, this did not work very well. Hence why you see in my more recent videos that I put all of my carp bait into Ziploc bags. Or I know some people put them in Tupperware containers, but I don't have any of those extra to spare. And of course, as I turned my back to get the carp bait set up, my catfish rod started getting nibbled on. So instead of immediately casting out my carp rod, I decided to go check out the catfish rod to see what was going on. So I went down there to check and see if the line was still tight, to which it was. So I figured it was a good idea, instead of casting the carp rod out immediately, why don't I just kind of go back, recenter myself, and sit in the chair, wait for the catfish bite. But we had no luck. So I left the catfish rod in the water and went and casted my carp rod out. Here I'm just adjusting the drag so that way the fish can take it and run with it. As I said, this was very early on in my carp fishing journey, and the other videos I mentioned how I'm a little bit behind on editing. So I would like to think I have carp fishing a little more down than I used to. But at this point it was time to check the catfish rod since it had been out there for a while. Here you can see what I've been using, which was just chicken gizzards and Kool-Aid. And at this point all the Kool-Aid had washed off, so I casted it back out instead of putting on fresh bait. And that was just simply because I was coming up on the time that I had to leave. Better to have something in the water than nothing. And not long before I had to leave, the drag was screaming, line was peeling on my carp rod. So I ran down and started to try to fight the fish. First tightening the drag some, leaving it loose enough so that we could still run, but then reeling up all the slack. And about here is when I thought I lost him. But as I walked up closer to the edge and tightened the drag some more and started reeling, I realized the fish was still on. Let's go. Fish on. And then he started swimming at me, which made me feel like I was also about to lose the fish until he came a little bit closer. And this carp was putting up a really good fight. I know that even the small ones put up a good fight, but this fight was intense. My arms were getting tired. In fact, multiple people walking through the park even stopped to ask if I had something on and watch the fight. And once I was able to tire this carp out enough, and this carp was really putting up a fight, but he finally tired out. Look at that thing. Looked like a nice sized carp to me, so I reached down to grab the net and try to net him myself. Again, very early on in my carp fishing journey, so my net skills are definitely better than this. I almost fell in here. As always, shout out to Slobcatcher for putting me on to carp and teaching me the ways. But we secured the fish. Let's go. Carp on the bank. And I'm not sure if you saw it earlier in the clips, but this was my second time going live, so I had to pull the fish out and show the live, but also someone who was watching me fight the fish was nice enough to film this video for me so that way I could get a clip. And look at that fish, also with the plane going in the background. This was an awesome video. Shout out to him for texting me the video afterwards, but then I wanted to get a weight on this fish for myself, but also the TikTok live. And while my scale had a really hard time zeroing out, it did stay steady at 9.22. Not a bad day.